where are United now after that performance? Because I don't know what you think, but watching it at 3 a.m., I would have much rather been asleep. And I'm not gonna lie to you, I did sleep for a little bit, slept through a little bit.
Because dozing on and off.
It was just a shocking performance.
I mean, from a neutral perspective, it was an unbelievable game.
Yes.
Stunning goals, just end-to-end Premier League style chaos with no one managing to control anything or have any sort of tactical sensibility about the whole thing. It was every reason we love the Premier League, just mad chaos ball end-to-end. But that's kind of where United are at. I mean, I've seen a lot of comments calling them Vibes FC, and that's pretty accurate.
I mean, it was tough to watch. I mean, look, Mason Greenwood, Yuri Tielemans. I mean, all the goals were crackers, to be fair. But a lot of defensive errors at the back. I don't think we controlled the game at all.
No.
We got carved up.
Well, you conceded a goal straight
Straight
kickoff.
after.
So that shows you that the side is either completely ill-disciplined or totally unprepared for basic scenarios, like a kickoff. You should know how to set up and defend from a kickoff. And the way that Aaron Wan-Bissaka just went kamikaze sliding after that guy and took him out. I mean, everyone forgot. I don't think he even got a yellow card because they played on and scored and the referee probably forgot about it. But, I mean, that just tells you everything you need to know about the laissez-faire attitude that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has to coaching this team.
And so here's my question to you, right? Because I think that personally, and this is my own opinion, Ollie brings the good vibes. He brings the nostalgia. We've talked about this in previous episodes. You can watch them at your leisure.
Absolutely.
But tactically, it seems that if the 4-3-3 doesn't work, he has nowhere else to go.
No.
There's no other plan. There's no a tweak of formation. There's no message from the sidelines that goes, if this is not working, this is what we do after that. And beyond that, it's a pattern, right? We see this game after game after game. But my worry is that now in a run of tough fixtures coming up, you've got Liverpool next weekend. I think, are they playing Chelsea in some point in that?
Yes, it's Atalanta Champions League, which by the time you watch this may have already happened.
Yeah. So a big run of games, and we know that if there's one thing Ollie can do, is that he can pull the cat out of the bag.
When the chips are down is when Ollie brings his best.
He seems to channel that Champions League win over Bayern Munich and add it to it. And he gets it done. And it papers over the cracks, right? It papers over the cracks of, we just aren't playing good football, even though you have the talent. Like, we don't have to talk about the names anymore because we've said them so many times. One giant name in particular.
Yes.
That even though I've criticized for the lack of pressing, he should, by nature, make any team that he joins better.
And it's arguably had the opposite effect.
So where are we at with Manchester United? Does Ollie stay? Or if he papers over the cracks, do we just get stuck in this cycle of mediocre performances until the big games where he just, I don't know what he says to them to get them up?
Well, I mean, it was a disaster class against Leicester. Let's talk about that specifically because Maguire rushed back in the starting lineup. I mean, how would you feel if you're Eric Bailly?
Yes.
Like, he's just no go anymore after that shellacking against Tottenham last year, I think.
Yeah.
He's obviously a backup player, not a starting caliber centre-back for Manchester United, but this was a game where you needed to play him because your captain was obviously totally unfit and unprepared for the fixture. He was at fault for 3 of the 4 goals.
Yeah.
3 out of 4.
He didn't look good. And I'm not a Harry Maguire hater. You know, like, I think he's decent. Is he 80 million worth? Maybe not.
He's decent when he has protection in front of him. And you see it for England, they usually play with 2 stoppers in front of the back 4, and he doesn't get exposed like he can. There was talk before the game that Ollie might actually tweak the formation. He might go to a back 3 just to shield the Bailly Lindelof combination that didn't end up being part of the plan. But he decided not to do that. And, you know, that might have worked well against Leicester. Leicester also play a back 3.
Yep.
So there's a match-up there numerically across the field. We've seen it in Ollie's early reign at United in some Champions League games. He would go to 5 at the back.
Yep.
Often with Diego Dallo or someone as a wing back because Wan-Bissaka is clearly not wing back caliber.
Yes.
Like, he just doesn't have the attacking contribution that you need from someone operating on a flank on their own. But he decided against it and stuck with the shape that he has for nearly his entire reign, with Matic
Can
playing.
remind us again what the shape is?
It's 4-2-3-1
Yeah.
with Bruno as the 10.
Mm-hmm.
4-3-3 if you like. It just depends on the positions that the players take up. But, again, it looked very disjointed. It looked very reliant on individuals and creative inspiration to make things happen, or just sheer brilliance like Mason Greenwood's bomb from about 25 yards into the top corner. There was so much forced crossing to Ronaldo at the back post. 45-degree angle early crosses that were either overhit, underhit, but it didn't matter about the quality of the delivery because the defence was expecting it every single time. And so they were shaping with 2-3 players in that area. So even if the delivery from Wan-Bissaka, for example, from the right had been perfect, United still probably wouldn't have scored because the defence is expecting it all the time. So the only time that United are able to create clear chances is when something unexpected happens. And they've got the quality in the starting 11 to get by sometimes on those moments. But it was just so clearly absent the clear plan that you need to beat a team as well coached as Leicester. And honestly, he's been a bit of a punchline in recent years, but Brendan Rodgers would be doing a far better job, regardless of his slightly deleted press conferences, than Ole Gunnar Solskjaer would. I mean, he clearly has a system. He clearly has an idea of how he wants his team to progress the ball and how he wants his team to play. And Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, for all of his deflections in press conferences, for all of his appeals to the great Sir Alex Ferguson in the good old days, seems to have no idea why those teams in the good old days were so successful that he played in.
And it's interesting as well, in Pogba's post-match conference, he also mentioned that they don't know why they can't win and perform to the level that you'd expect of those big names. And here's a controversial idea for you, because I am a bit of a Victor Lindelof fan.
Yeah.
And because I think back in when he was playing at Benfica back in the day, he was their set piece taker. I think he was a nice ball playing centre back, and then he arrived, and the United way recently is just to kill good people that come.
Every talent coming through the doors bright-eyed and ready to tear up the Premier League is suddenly demoralised about 3 months in.
And you think about players like Fred, Diogo Dalot. I don't think they came and they were shit players.
No.
Or people that made them butt of their jokes. They came because they could play football. But for some reason they've come to the club and now they're the butt of all the jokes. And Dalot can't get a look in, even though he played at Milan consistently. But I think with Victor Lindelof, and here's my proposal to you. You know how we're missing a centre defensive midfielder?
Uh-huh.
Let's just push him up.
All right.
Into centre defensive, because he was the one that played that ball to Marcus Rashford.
True.
Right?
Atrocious defending from Leicester, who are not an amazing side this season. They've had their problems, but United made them look, like geniuses.
Yeah.
And that ball was a clear indication of the weaknesses that can be exploited in that side, but were not identified in whatever pre-match scouting was done.
But I also think about the ball that he played to Bruno Fernandes against Newcastle.
Yeah.
Fernandes' goal. Oh,
it's true.
Whatever.
There was a good pass in that match, I remember.
Yeah. So why not? If McFred is not working, Paul Pogba is clearly not being used in that position, why not try Victor Lindelof there? Because, surely he has the defensive understanding to be able to pull it off, the passing range clearly to do it. He took set pieces for Benfica when he played in Portugal. Mm-hmm. Let's try something different, Ollie. Why, 4-3-3, if you don't want to move from that, that's fine. But let's change the personnel up a little bit.
I just don't think Ollie is brave enough manager to do anything unconventional, like shifting a player's position radically. The closest he's come to doing that is probably playing Pogba as a left winger, which wasn't really where he was playing. He was drifting inside and playing a free role. So it was just a way of relieving defensive burden on Paul Pogba. So that's the most creative decision he's made in his time in charge. And arguably that did work. In some games, even if, exposed the limitations of the midfielders who came in to replace Pogba in that area of the pitch. The problem is that you've got two players in the United first team who are so difficult to accommodate tactically.
Chat to me.
One of them is obviously Paul Pogba, who has had more think pieces written about his best position than I think any other player in the last decade. And the quandary of how he's so effective at international level when he's actually got N'Golo Kante alongside him, and back in the 2018 World Cup when they won, Blaise Matuidi on the left doing all of his...
And before you continue, right, I think this is also... Actually, no, I'll let you continue because I feel like this thought will flow on better with your next.
Okay, well, that's one player who's very difficult to accommodate. You need the right balance around them to make it work.
Who's the next player, Bubba?
I mean, who do you think?
Who is it?
It's Mr. Cristiano Ronaldo, who is not a conventional centre forward in the sense that he doesn't play with his back to goal. He doesn't do the pressing. We've talked about the numbers. He is a kind of goal hanger at this point, and
sounds very derogatory.
Well, look, he's won multiple Champions Leagues doing that, but the creative burden in the team, the creative burden, not the finishing burden, not the scoring burden, but the creative burden was never on his shoulders. He usually had a centre forward in Karim Benzema, who was an expert in basically creating space for Ronaldo as a kind of decoy runner and back to goal player, and they complemented each other so well because it was Benzema doing all the little things and Ronaldo always getting to the scoring positions after Benzema had drawn someone out of position or what have you. They also had a generational midfield trio in Kroos, Modric, Casemiro, which is it's like the roof of the Sistine Chapel of midfields. It's just unbelievable.
Yeah.
And they had fantastic fullbacks most of the time in those teams that would pick up the slack for Ronaldo if he was nominally playing on a flank and not tracking back. They could get Casemiro across the cover, or Marcelo in his pomp was running the whole left flank on his own. So they had ways to accommodate Ronaldo, and I don't think Juventus ever cracked the code quite. They were able to win league titles in a Serie A that was still getting back to its peak. Yeah. But last season they were brutally exposed.
And think about the players that surrounded Ronaldo when he was first at Manchester United. Park Ji-sung, Michael Carrick, Carlos Tevez, Wayne Rooney. Players that sacrificed parts of their game to accommodate the fact that he was Cristiano Ronaldo.
Yes, and he was a different player back then.
100%.
This is late career Ronaldo we're talking about. Peak Ronaldo was a force of nature who didn't need any help. Yeah. Peak Ronaldo was somebody who could dominate matches in a multitude of ways. Yeah. And as he's grown older, he has limited his sphere of influence to basically the penalty area. And that
sphere
he's become smaller in here, and he's narrowed his focus, let's say. And it is resulted in extraordinary goal numbers and extraordinary longevity at the top of the game. But I have a friend who is a very keen observer of football and a coach as well. Yep. And he refers to Ronaldo's play of late, probably since he went to Juventus and maybe the latter couple of years at Real Madrid, as what he calls martyr ball, which is basically Ronaldo getting the opportunity to get all the plaudits and all the goals, but the rest of the team sort of dying for him, sacrificing.
Yes.
And
you're going to cop some heat.
If the current pattern at United continues and they're unable to find a solution to accommodate Ronaldo and still be competitive in modern football, which has changed so much in the last few years tactically, you can argue that Ronaldo is the martyr at United again. And he probably won't get the blame. Ole will get the blame, but the next coach who comes in has got to be an innovator. There's got to be someone with a really strong personality who can shift Ronaldo's position around or change the shape or try, more inventive things like, Lindelof as a defensive midfielder if they have to. So he has the strength of personality and the ambition to be able to come up with creative solutions and not worry about the flack when they go wrong. Because I don't think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has the mettle to be able to carry the can for that kind of gamble.
And Josh, I accept the job. Because in FIFA, I moved Todd Cantwell from his preferred left wing position into the 10, and I got plaudits for it and won Manager of the Month. So if the Glazers are looking for another manager, look, I don't care for the headlines. I just want to see Manchester United do well, and I've got a proven track record, taking a team from League 2 to the Championship, playing people out of position for the better of the team. And yes, I'm happily cop the flack for that.
Now you can't hear the microphones, Ryan, but you went full like ASMR there.
Oh, did it? Yeah,
right
well,
into-
I hope that's convincing enough.
You went right, like, invasively deep into my eardrums.
And I feel that the people that run Manchester United need that kind of, because it's been a long time. It's been a long time since Fergie left, and if the overall noise and collective groans of United fans over time, and not necessarily on Oli and Ronaldo, but like the way that money's been spent, because I also hate hearing, oh, we just need to spend a little bit more here, a little bit more. If all that doesn't work, let me get deep into your ears and talk real smooth, and hopefully that helps. I hope that helps.